So, what's been going on in the news? A lot. But let me talk about something that Elon Musk said the other day. Elon Musk, who is a billionaire, many say he made it to trillionaire status, but then he lost some and now he's back to being just a measly old billionaire, made a comment the other day. And I think people pay attention to people classified as wealthy because they want to know what they have going on, because those people typically know what's going on behind the scenes. But a lot of these billionaires, trillionaires, millionaires may just be figures that are put in the public eye to disclose certain information. So Elon Musk was just here. Oh my goodness, it's so good. Excuse me. Brother Malcolm Copper Colored Brown said he's from Queen, New York, and he just got his first gold backs today. Congratulations. Oh, I'm so happy about that. And I'm very proud of you. You're investing in your future by getting precious metals, gold and silver. And you'll be able to not only use that right now, today you can, to buy local goods and services, but you can pass that down to your posterity because gold backs are legal tender. It is actually 24 karat gold right on a polymer note that is real pure gold. So congratulations to you for making sure you accumulate wealth. Hi, Sister Vicky. Welcome. It's good to see you all here. I'm so happy. I got a little sidetracked because I'm always ecstatic when someone invests in their posterity, meaning their future generations. So congratulations. Elon Musk just went to a show called The Economist, where he actually did an interview with The Economist, and he said something that was very interesting to some, but for us, it made a lot of sense. I didn't understand why a lot of people thought this was a point of contention. But you know how people in mainstream media do. They'll report the news and then they'll say that it doesn't make sense. So Elon Musk predicted that money will not matter in 2036. So he says essentially in 10 years, there will be no need for money. He did that. He said that on the interview with The Economist, and he argued that AI, or artificial intelligence, as well as humanoid robots, will produce so much in abundance that people won't have to work. So goods and services were typically, or according to him, become limitless. That means it will be so much, there'll be an abundance, a surplus, more than enough of services and goods for everybody, because you have the robots serving us and you have goods that's produced on a massive level, way more than what humans can do. So he said that will render traditional currency that we know of and savings completely obsolete. You won't need money. You won't need a savings. There'll be so much to go around that there'll be no need to have a scarcity mindset. So according to Elon Musk, we are moving into the golden era where we're now moving into an abundance reality where there again is a surplus of everything you need. Now we already know that there's more than enough. We know there's more than enough land for everybody, more than enough precious metals, more than enough goods, more than enough of everything. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof is what the scripture says. And another way of putting that is the earth always provides what she and her inhabitants need. Now, you may have had some very greedy beings on this planet and their human hybrids that took some of the wealth away from the people and kept it hidden or blocked off or fenced off so that we couldn't have access to it. But we are moving to a whole new reality. In fact, Elon Musk pointed out that we won't need money to buy things like food, housing, transportation, entertainment. Because when you think about it, what is money anyway? Money is a tool to get the things that you need. Money is a bartering tool, but they use it as more than a bartering tool. They made money almost something that we had to worship, because in order to live a normal life, you had to have it, and almost by any means necessary. So with the abundance of everything being released, because they kept it fenced off and they kept it out of our reach. Now with the abundance being released and overproduction of it with AI, they're saying, why do we need money? Now you have to put this alongside of what he said, Elon Musk said a couple months ago when he said everybody's going to have universal high income. This basically, essentially, is a surplus amount of money that the government will give to every single human person on the planet. The way the articles put it is that it's a proposed economic model where regular unconditional government checks are distributed to all people. They call them citizens across the globe. Unlike universal basic income, which was an allotment of money that came from the government to cover your basic needs like food, housing, shelter, or clothes, your basic living needs. That's universal basic income. Universal high income, though, covers more than your bare necessities. Now, the reason why they said you will have universal high income is because we're going to have an abundance of wealth. And when a nation have an abundance of wealth, they make sure that their citizens or their sovereign nationals get a portion of that wealth. You can look at Qatar, you can look at Bahrain and some other oil-rich nations that already give their people universal high income. They may not call it universal high income, but the government or the people in power or the different families that run the nations like Qatar make sure that every national in that country get a part of the wealth because Qatar is very oil rich. So there's no reason for them to accumulate all the wealth and keep it to themselves. They make sure their nationals have money, an allotment of money every month. They make sure they have health care. They make sure they have free education. They make sure they have access to many other benefits that everyday people in countries like America never had access to. So we already see this modeled in many nations, this universal high income. What we've been calling it is NASARA benefits, or the National Economic Security and Reformation Act benefits that we foresee being paid out. And the global version of that is the Global Economic Security and Reformation Act, or JASARA benefits. We've been calling NASARA and JASARA for the last 10 or 11 years, but Elon Musk is calling it universal high income. And he said this income is an allotment of money that will come from the government that released to all the nationals of that particular nation. Now, where will the universal high income come from? Some say, and I support this thesis, I say it comes from your sovereign wealth fund. And this is why President Trump created a sovereign wealth fund in 2025 when he first came back. The sovereign wealth fund, he said, is comprised of precious metals like gold, silver, copper, and other metals, land, rare earth minerals, money from trade deals, other real estate wealth and proceeds, and all type of different proceeds from wealth, a tariff, proceeds from tariffs as well, that's put into a fund, and that fund is put into a trust. And that trust or sovereign wealth fund will take care of humanitarian needs for the nation in America. It will take care of the infrastructure and the roads here in America, and it will be an allotment of that will be utilized to invest in other nations and other resources. So again, a sovereign wealth fund is a fund comprised of real estate, precious metals, rare earth minerals, funding or money from tariffs and taxes put into this trust for the nationals of America. The nationals of America only. Every other person will have to be in their country to receive their sovereign wealth funds. So you'll get humanitarian aid from there. You will get some funding for your businesses from sovereign wealth fund. You'll get infrastructure that will be funded from the sovereign wealth fund. But in addition to that, you will also get access to your personal trust. So that personal trust and the sovereign wealth fund, two different trusts. The sovereign wealth fund is the fund of the nation. Your personal trust is that trust that we each have, especially those of us in America I'm speaking to, but most people on the planet have some type of trust that was created at birth. And that trust is attached to their birth certificate bond that was circulated on the stock exchange, New York Stock Exchange and others, and it was accumulating interest over time. Those benefits or credits were supposed to supposed to be used to pay off all of our living expenses. But instead of allowing us access to the trust, these nefarious bankers who are elite bloodline people that enslave the planet access our trust themselves. Now, they might lend us something for a mortgage or for a school education or for a loan for a car or something like that. But really, they weren't lending us anything. They didn't give us money. They didn't give us cash. What they did instead was they told us they were lending us something for our living expenses. And then they would access our trust additionally to saying, oh, we're going to lend you something. We'll lend you money to buy this house. But they didn't give us cash for the house. They didn't give us cash to go to college. It was all a facade. But they were saying they were lending to us. Meanwhile, they were have us to sign off on the promissory note, which that signature was giving them access to our trust. Some people call it a TDA account, Treasury Direct account, that's attached to our birth certificate bond that's held at the United States Treasury Department. So when we signed that promissory note, they would then gain, these bankers get the money from our trust, pay themselves, and then make us pay them back with interest. Well, that's unlawful. And not only unlawful and unconstitutional, it's treasonous, which is why banksters are being arrested right now. Government officials are being arrested. Attorneys, judges, they were all a part of this collusion against we the people. They colluded against our freedom. Okay, so now, though, in this new era into which we're going to have access to our own personal trust, but they're going to tell you this universal high income is coming from the government. It's not coming from the government. It's coming from your personal trust. And we've studied that, but we got that information first from Chief Mack, who actually went through classes with his Series 7 brokers, professionals, and other classes to find out how the rich have been gaining access to our trust all along. Rich from all over the world coming to America to gain access to our birth certificate bond and to your bank account, because your Social Security number is a bank account that's tied to one of the central banks. They were getting monies or credit from our bonds or our trust in order to build up massive buildings. They built banks, they built real estate properties, they built homes, they built what else? Commercial property. All of these people were gaining access to our trust, but now they are being deported. And this is why, I don't know if you've seen this, family, immigration attorneys are online now telling people don't travel. If you're a foreign national or an immigrant or even a migrant, and you know your time is up here, or you know your visas have run out here, don't travel. Why are they telling them not to travel? Because ICE has been deployed at the airports, and TSA is sharing information with the ICE people that's in their plain clothes at the airports, letting them know who's trying to run away. Because people from all over the world have been right here on these lands, stealing our resources and gaining access to our trust. That will not be permitted any longer. So back to what Elon Musk said. He mentioned a while back that there's a proposed economic model called universal high income. He popularized the term. He didn't come up with it. Economists did. Economists said that, look, not only is AI here, but you're going to have humanoid robotics that's going to replace humans and human workers. And they're going to be doing so much and producing so much that you got to have something for the people to be able to buy those goods. You got to give them a remedy for not having a job. And that remedy is universal high income. Now, they put these people in position like Elon Musk to tell us what they're doing behind the scenes. So universal high income provides enough funds to ensure a comfortable middle class or upper middle class or even affluent standard of living. So each person will have an allotment every single month put into their non-interest bearing quantum account. And I don't know if you all heard Chief Mack and I speak about this a couple of days ago, but we heard that people are literally utilizing these funds already. It hasn't come out to the public yet, but we talked to somebody that literally testified to the fact that they were able to gain access to some of these funds, and it's being rolled out now, which is why some people are saying they see their student loans being wiped out, their mortgages being wiped out, their medical debt being wiped out, and their debt altogether being wiped out. This is a slow rollout of debt cancellation and massive wealth being injected into the global economy. So I know that Elon Musk is the person that popularized the whole concept of universal high income, but it was actually, again, the economists that said you have to remedy the people for replacing them with robots. Now, this is the commentary that mainstream is giving us, and I'm here for it. So Elon Musk said we're going to have universal high income, what we've been calling Nasara and Jasara benefits all along. And he also said when you have an overproduction or a massive production of wealth and goods or whatever, services as well, you don't need money, he says. He said there's no need for money because what is money really used for? Money is used to buy goods and services. One second, I'm getting a call. He said, he pointed out that people only want money, right, to buy things like food, housing, transportation, and entertainment, but it's going to be there in abundance. He said, if AI and robots produce more of these things than humans can possibly consume, then the rules of economics change. You see how they're changing the rules. And he also said there's a deflation risk. He suggests that the future economy faces deflation rather than inflation because output will grow much faster than the money supply. Now, a lot of people and some economists and some other so-called billionaires argue that this won't work, maybe because they don't want everybody to be rich. I don't know. But they say there are some criticisms. They say that you might have an abundance of wealth, but this could cause people to not know how to deal with the abundance. They come from a scarcity mentality. Let me read this one line that says economists argue that fundamental caps like land, physical space, raw energy, and raw materials will face scarcity. Well, how is land, physical space, raw energy, and raw materials going to face scarcity when we know that the earth always produces more than enough for her inhabitants? We call Earth, the planet, Mother Earth because Mama is going to always take care of her babies. So we don't espouse to or support this thesis that an abundance of materials or abundance of resources will cause a lack of anything. As a matter of fact, when you have an abundance of goods that's produced from AI, then the earth is just going to continue to support it. Now, Elon Musk said that you won't need money in the next 10 years. I'm telling you, while I agree that money is only used to buy goods and money is only used to barter with for services and money is used for many other things, that money may not be a necessity because we can barter with anything. We, the people, can decide how to barter, but we might not even need to barter if there's an overabundance or overproduction of goods and services. So I agree with Elon Musk that you won't need money, but what I will say you need is wealth. The people in power know, first of all, that they're phasing out money. They're phasing out paper dollars, I should say, right? We even know that the United States Treasury Department approved Trump's plan to phase out paper dollars. But the latter part of the article says, or the report says, that they will use, instead of paper dollars, precious metals, gold, and cryptocurrencies or digital assets. So they're saying we don't need money anymore. And at the same time, they're phasing out paper dollars. But we know they're phasing out not only the paper dollars, they're phasing out the magic they were doing on the paper dollars. They're phasing out the necessity for us having dollars at all, because we didn't have dollars before these nefarious people came anyway and overtook our lawful republic. We bartered other ways by using gold, silver, copper, grains, all that. See, by getting rid of money, what they call money, fiat, paper dollars, we can go back to doing things the way we used to do it anyway. We can decide between ourselves what to do and how to conduct business. We can barter, we can trade without the government being a part of the equation. In fact, we are circumventing the government all along. We are decentralizing from the government, and we are becoming our own banks. So why do I say you don't need money? I agree with Elon Musk, because money was their tool. They would issue out enough that they would become rich, and they would issue out enough money that they can give to their buddies while they keep some other people away from the so-called money called dollars. But you do need wealth, because wealth, what is wealth? Wealth is a resource that we have and we accumulate to benefit our society. It's a resource. And one of the greatest pieces or greatest forms of resource you can have is human resource. That's wealth. Human resource is wealth. People, relationships between you and other people, that is wealth. What do we use money for anyway? To gain access to people, to gain access to goods, to gain access to travel, to gain access to housing, to gain access to precious metals, to gain access to all of, but we're circumventing all of that. And I'm telling you, the greatest resource you can have is human resources, relationships. Okay, wealth. I'm saying you don't need money, but you need wealth. Some people classify wealth as human resources, rest, freedom, and time. You need wealth. You need freedom. First of all, you need each other, human resources. You need freedom. You need a release from being able to work or having to work for another man to build up his empire. Freedom to create on your own. Freedom to develop your own skills. So you need freedom. You need human resources. You need freedom. You need time with each other. You need time to be by yourself, to ascend to the highest states of consciousness. You need time to speak to your ancestors. You need time to formulate relationships. You need time to nurture your relationships. You need time, not fiat dollars. Human resources, time, freedom, time, and yes, physical assets. So I personally don't trust the people in power anyway. So what I would strongly encourage people to do is utilize the fiat while you have it, or even when you get the digital assets as we move into the golden era, to buy physical assets, because they can take money away from you. They can take dollars away from you, right? They can take whatever they want away from you in the old dimension. But now that we're ascending in consciousness, what I strongly encourage people to do is take that fiat or those digital assets and buy you some land. Because if you got land, you can grow your own food. Buy you some land, get some precious metals like silver, gold, copper, other metals, precious stones, precious minerals, those things are considered wealth. You need that, because no matter what they do, talking about the people in power, if you have your own land, you can feed yourself, your family, and your community, and you can barter with the farmer down the street. If you have your own land, you can even learn how to dig water out of the land. You can learn how to dig wells. If you have your own land, you can conduct business on your land. You can do so much on your land. You can build your own home off the wood and whatever else is on your property. They have so many channels on YouTube right now where people are living on the land, living on raw land, and they're happy. So you might not need money in 10 years from now, and I'm excited about that. But what I would encourage you to do is use the money that you do have, and even 10 years from now, buy you some or get you some wealth. Accumulate wealth, accumulate grains, seeds, energy from your family members, and hone your skills. We're moving into a whole new era, family, where we will have again our own bank. We will have our own way of doing things. We will have our sovereignty back, where we will control our own lives and our own food source, our own water supply. I'm so excited about that. So I thought it was really interesting that Elon Musk, he's predicting that we won't need money in the next 10 years. But I'm going to do you something even better than all that I just said. What we're experiencing right now is our ancestors that have returned and our galactic family have decided that they're going to allow us to experience a period of wealth and abundance. That's what's really happening. Okay, they've come back and decided we've been enslaved too long. So they want us to have a whole period of just wealth, 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 living in with gold, silver, precious metals, rare earth minerals, and learning how to barter with them and learning how to accumulate wealth with them. And then we're going to ascend to a higher state of consciousness and a higher state of being in a new reality where we won't need money at all. Period. We won't even need bartering tools. We'll just manifest with our mind like some of our galactic family members do on their other planes or planets, wherever they live. So again, on the surface, we are going to have a period of time where AI will overproduce. We have an abundance of goods and services, kind of like the shows we used to see when we were children growing up, where they would have the robots produce everything. What was the name of that cartoon that we used to watch? Oh my gosh, I guess the Jetsons. So on the surface, you're going to have such an abundance of robots producing goods and services that they will, yes, replace human beings working, but we'll be able to enjoy being served. And that Jetsons reality is a reality that really existed before. When they show us things like that, they're not predicting anything. They're showing you the way we used to live before the planet was enslaved. We're going to go back to that time. We're going to go back to the time of somebody else or a robot cooking for us, producing cars, producing houses. We already see it happening. If you don't think that we're using AI right now, just think about how when you go to Walmart or to the grocery store, most of the time you don't even go to a human person to check you out. You can just scan your goods yourself, and the machine is doing all the work. When you go through a traffic light, the machine is telling you when to go and when not to go. Okay, we will have a whole life like that. Well, we'll have flying cars and planes that'll fly by themselves and cars that you just get right in it and it will fly for you. This is why President Trump said, I want to say about a decade ago, that he envisions a reality of freedom cities and flying cars. All they're doing is telling you about what we used to have and how we used to live, and now predicting how we're returning back to that era. So in the meantime, you have AI replacing the jobs, but they're producing an abundance, a surplus of goods. And then they are also simultaneously laying people off their jobs. I know that when you first look at it, it's like, oh my God, we're without jobs. What are we going to do? We don't have money or access to money anymore. But beyond what meets the eye, when you think about it, now that you're at home, you can use your creative skills. You can create now that you're not enslaved, now that you're not so busy working for somebody else. You can now hone your skills, your gifts, your creative abilities, and you can utilize them to do whatever it is you came here to do, or whatever you desired to do when you were a child. For example, I'm going to stop talking in a minute. My grandchildren have been homeschooled. I'm going to show you some pictures. And they're at home, so they don't. Thank you so much for sending the gift, the Cash App blessing. Thank you, Earl. Says, keep up the good work. Thank you for the Cash App gift, Earl. They've been home. And what I've noticed is, since they're not out in the public, you know how we have to go to work, get up early in the morning. I don't work for anybody but myself, but I used to have to get up. You have to get up early in the morning. Thank you for the gift. You have to get up early in the morning, before you're really ready to wake up. Some alarm clock wakes you up and startles you out of your sleep. And then you got to get dressed and ready and get your mind right, drink you some coffee or some hot tea. I'm looking at my pictures of my grandbabies. And then you have to get ready, get in the car, fight through traffic, and then go and work for somebody and deal with all these energies and all these people and all their diseases and all their germs and all these rules, regulations. And while you're building up somebody else's empire for a few scraps that Chief Mack taught us is actually coming out of your trust anyway. You know how we had to do that? Then you come home and fight through traffic, and now you're too tired when you get back to cook and really to deal with your family members. Now you'll have time at home to actually think. You have freedom, time, human resources, relationships, and time. That time you can use to create your own skills, right? So let me just show you, since my grandchildren have been home, they've been doing all type of projects for me to help me with my business, of course. And they learn about BRICS and they learn about the global economy. They learn about geopolitics and all that, but they're also honing their own skills. I should show you a picture of, another time I'll show you a picture of my grandson's tree that he's growing. He's growing an orange tree. We've noticed he likes horticulture. Who would have known? You know, because if he were at school all the time, he probably wouldn't be in nature. But now that he's home, he visits nature. He visits the forest. He goes to trails. He's growing a tree. He's growing plants. He's growing food. We never knew that this was an interest for him. But now that he's not learning how to be a slave or to work to build somebody else's business up, he's in his own natural habitat. He realizes he loves growing food. That's amazing, right? So the other day I asked him, what do you want? Because I go through this period where I get them whatever they desire at least once or twice a month. He said, I want a juicer, but I want a manual juicer. So they woke up early this morning and they made, I don't know if you can see that. I don't know if you can see, but they're making orange juice right here. My granddaughter's at the forefront. My grandson is in the back. They're making orange juice. And the juicer that I bought them. Isn't that awesome? My granddaughter is making jewelry in her spare time. And I've shown you all the dresses she made for her baby dolls. She made prom dresses, wedding dresses, boots, shoes. They're even knitting and yarning and making throw blankets for my couches. I'm like, who would have ever known an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old would think like that? They're making juices. This is lime pear juice that they made for me last night. I was so ecstatic. Lime and pear juices. So like my grandchildren, you will have time to figure out what it is you enjoy, and you'll have time to hone your skills. So I know on the surface, AI taking over jobs could pose a threat because now that means we're not out working for somebody else. However, we can utilize that to our benefit. But you don't want to utilize the fact that AI is taking over jobs to be lazy. You don't want to just sit back in the cut and do nothing. You want to hone your skills. Okay, you want to build relationships because, again, human resources, that's the most important resource there is. You can utilize the time to spend time alone to figure out who you are, what you enjoy, and what you desire to create and to create it. And then you can utilize the time to build relationships because there was once upon a time, the family lived together and the family brought all of their skills together to survive. They brought all of their ideas and all of the money that they had together, and they decided that 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 people, however many people you had in your so-called nuclear family, was so much more in terms of the resources you can bring and add to the pot than just one person trying to do it on their own. So we used money. We saw money as a tool for time. We saw money as a tool to trade to hone our skills, to buy us a class, right, for our skills. We saw money as a tool to be able to gain access to come to certain tables. You saw money as a tool to use to buy access to travel. You saw money as a tool to do everything. But when you take money out of the equation, what's important? It's you. It's the people around you. It's your family. It's your freedom. It's your time. So I just wanted to say that I agree with Elon Musk that in the next 10 years, there won't be a need for money. There won't. There won't. But what I would suggest is while you have it, buy you some land so you can grow your own food. That's wealth. Land is wealth. Buy you some gold and silver, because constitutionally that's money, but gold and silver is also considered wealth. Why is it considered wealth? Because if you think of it from a money aspect, yes, it protects you against inflation. It's always been utilized for a mode of a medium of exchange since way before biblical years. But precious metals and precious stones are also wealth because they help you ascend in consciousness. They help you have lucid dreams. They help you with some of your dis-eases. They help you with depression when you put on precious metals. They help with joint pain. We have gold and silver receptors in our brains. So when you wear gold, silver, copper, palladium, platinum, rare earth minerals, even, and you wear them, you eat them, you ingest them, you keep them around you, it keeps your vibrational frequencies up. And some even argue that you need it to heal certain elements, like you can put copper in water and it would cleanse your water. People say in the Sumerian text that Anunnaki reported that they came here to the plane called Earth to get to get gold, to mine the gold, to take back to their planet, to heal their planet Nibiru. So if gold can heal a planet that's a distant planet like Nibiru, what can gold do for us here now? Why did they really steal the gold, the silver, the palladium, the platinum, the rare earth minerals, and the land from the indigenous people? Why did they really keep us from our resources? Because we sprung from the soil, therefore the soil and we are one and the same. Because springing from the soil means that you have a relationship with all of the resources that have also sprung from the soil. You have a relationship to precious metals. You are literally physically related to rare earth minerals, precious metals, the earth, the land. You're related to it. So when you're related to it, you have blood rights to it. And that relationship means that you're supposed to be together. You're one and the same. You are gold. You are copper. You are silver. You are precious metals. You are precious stones. You are the artifacts that your ancestors created in your image and in your likeness. But these beings that came to the earth plane stole those away from us. But let me tell you something that the ancestors spoke to me about a month ago. They stole them temporarily, but they will be returned. They took them and they kept them and they fenced things off. They fenced off the land from the indigenous peoples and said you can't get access to it, but we'll give it to foreign nationals that come over here, right? But all that was temporary. It has to be returned. They kept us out of the Grand Canyon and the caves where our ancestors were buried, along with gold and some of their bodies that were mummified, and the minerals and the jewels that they had. They kept away from us, but they have to return them. And we're in that era now. That's the wealth that was passed down to you that you now have to be the steward of, so you can pass down to the other generations that haven't come yet. So we don't need their money, their fiat dollars. We're doing away with that, not because they're just these beings in power, just so benevolent. No, their time of reigning is over. So even their little AI and robotics that they're creating, they think they have some plans They're going to make us be happy for now, and we're going to have a surplus, but they do have sinister plans to possibly allow them to overtake us as indigenous people or as human people on this planet. And whether you're indigenous by blood or you are a hybrid of the indigenous, you know what I mean? All human beings on this planet, they want to enslave. So even the robots and AI and all that, and the beings behind it that created it, they could have a sinister plot, but you can't let that happen. I can never let anything or any entity take us into slavery again. We can never allow that to happen. So we need to make sure that when we get the land back, we are good stewards over it. When we get our gold and silver and copper and palladium and platinum and rare earth minerals back, we have to be good stewards of it. And being a good steward means, first of all, you have to walk with integrity, high honor all the time, and operate in good business and with good business ethics, integrity, high honor, good ethics. And that starts with you as making sure you develop your character on the highest level, because only that type of energy is going to be able to steward this type of wealth, this amount of wealth well. And that means not only must we develop our character on a high level, making sure we have a high level of integrity, that we maintain high moral compass, good values, that we're good stewards, but it also means you have to be a good steward over your relationships. How do we relate to the people that we make babies with or by? How to relate to our parents? How do we relate to our elders? How do we relate to our neighbors? Because your relationships are a mirror of who you are and the character that you inhabit yourself. So the person with whom you're dealing is only a mirror of who you are. So if that person is somebody you can't get along with and you're always arguing, bantering back and forth, it's not that person that's the issue. It's you, because they're just a mirror of who you are. Whoever I have a problem with is a mirror of who I am. It's something that the ancestors have put in front of me, or source or God or spirit have put in front of me, so I can see myself. Even if that person is toxic, even if that person is a narcissist, if I'm always in conflict with that person, it is not them that's the issue, it's me. I'm looking at a reflection of myself in that individual, else I wouldn't even be dealing with them. You see, because whoever I accept into my reality, that's a spiritual contract that's saying I agree to deal with you until I improve myself. So I have to raise up my consciousness and develop my character on the highest level, because it's not just about me dealing with me, it's also about me dealing with you and the people around me. It's a whole new era where money is not the focus anymore. What's the focus is character, spiritual development, who you are as a being. What is it that you truly came here to do? Was it really to go out and work for another man to build up his empire? Was it really to go out and do this or that or the other for another person's legacy? Or did you come here to ascend in consciousness, to learn life lessons, to walk in your godship, your kingship and queenship? Were you really just placed here to work, to produce for somebody else? Or were you here not only to ascend in consciousness, but to enjoy what you built with your own hands? You don't need money to ascend in consciousness. You don't need money to have good relationships. You don't need money to have freedom, really, or sovereignty or peace of mind. In 3D reality, we did. We needed it, quote unquote, but that's been taken out of the way. Now we'll be able to see who we really are. So I only say you don't need money, you need wealth, because I'm defining wealth as time, freedom, energy, relationships. Time, energy, freedom, relationships, and yes, something that's hard commodity or something of value that we can pass down to our posterity, like land, because that we can grow That is something upon which we can grow food. We can uh, dig water. All those things are necessities, but they're also a part of our joy, wealth. Brother Larry says these kinds of teachings are only 50% right. Tell us the other 50%, Brother Larry. We'd love to hear it. Money will no longer be required in 6 or 7 years. Yeah. Tell me what you all think about that. AI is the mark of the beast. Somebody said you need to ignore it. You can't ignore it. Can you ignore AI when you go to the grocery store, Sister Tammy? You know, they put it so around us so much. So we can either use it or not, but I don't know how you can get around it in this new reality. But you can educate me. It could be used for our good or it could be used to our detriment. I agree. Use it for your good if you're going to use it at all. But like I said, AI right now, the stoplights, that's AI, artificial intelligence. That when you go to the shopping market and you know how they scan the food, that's it. That's our AI. We don't really need it because we can use humans, but we are going back to that time period. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Sister Shirley says, hi, Dr. Kia. I just got my Zimbabwe Zim bonds today. Congratulations. I remember home economics class back in the day, Botanica says. Me too. D. Samuel says, you are teaching. Thank you. Sister Belinda says, I remember, beautiful. I remember in school, we used to have home economics learning different things like how to cook and how to sew. Not teaching if we have to homeschool now. Not teaching it. Oh, not teaching it, she says. So we have to homeschool now. Yeah, they're not, schools aren't teaching it, but we can teach how to cook, how to sew. And that's one thing my granddaughter just like naturally started doing. She just, actually, when she was 2, she made clothes for her baby doll out of napkins. She just started tearing up napkins and constructing in such a way. She put it on the baby doll's body. She created a whole skirt and halter top. I was like, what? She was 2 years old. So I saw then this is one of the reasons she came here on this planet. She came to make clothes and give people joy through clothes making. And now she's 10 and she's literally sewing them. She's stitching them with the needle and thread. She's making clothes, boots, shoes, gloves for her baby dolls. I have to bring back those pictures because I think I might have showed the private group. I think I did publish it on my Facebook page, but now she's sewing on her own. It's like, I never taught her that. I don't know if it's an ancestral memory or just, I don't know what it is. This is something she just came to do, but now she does it on a whole nother level. And now she has a sewing machine. This is beautiful to watch. She's 10. She's making clothes. She's making jewelry. She can make jewelry in no time. She made all her family members like bracelets or charms, or put charms on the bracelets. She does hair. She does makeup. She does her own nails. She does other people's nails. It's like, she's amazing. She's an artist. And then my grandson, he, like I said, he likes to plant food and watch it grow. Every morning he wakes up. Before I even wake up, he's tending to his garden, to his plants. And I'm thinking, wow, he's studying. He's reading books on juicing, planting, foods, seeds. She's reading things about she likes stories, but that are age appropriate. But she's also reading about fashion, jewelry, design. So it's amazing how when you have time, how you will start to use your creative abilities to produce something of value for yourself and your family. 1 minute, this is important.
master key of fruit, shining wisdom's light, teaching soul tribe how to see through the night. Ancient scripture said.
All right. Thank you, family. Thank you for your patience. That was a family call I needed to take. So, what did you say? Time is the most valuable asset, Botanica says. Thank you. And just think about how much of our time was not really respected, how much of it was just given to everything else other than our own selves. Like we didn't even have individual time to rest. We didn't necessarily have individual time to develop relationships with our family members, to nurture our children. We didn't have time to grow our own food. We didn't. But now we'll have time. I'm so excited. We'll have time for that. Family, please, I know I'm always talking about wealth. Orisha Stone, who is my personal jeweler, creates jewelry for me, Chief Mac, our moderator, Sister Janine, and some of the other Soul Tribe members named me the Minister of Wealth. So you are the Minister of Wealth. That's why you were sent here. And it is that 8 is my life path number, which is the number of wealth and abundance. And that's why I teach it. But we talk about wealth because it's about more than money. Your wealth is time, your energy. This is why these beings in power put all these type of paradigms and programs and scare tactics and war rumors and all this in place so that they can harness your energy. Because when you are in panic mode or you're stressed out, you're terrorized, you're frustrated, you're angry, you emit a psychic energy called loosh, Loosh. It comes from your body when you're in angst, when you're anxious, when you're nervous, your central nervous system, you know how it feels when your nervous system isn't regulated and you just feel like you're about to just lose it because you're just so stressed out and your body literally quakes or shakes and your nerves just seem to internally go haywire. We emit a psychic energy. And when you're angry, something comes from your body. You know how when people that are angry come around you, you can literally feel their energy and you kind of try to stay away. Well, these beings that were in power that enslaved the planet, they literally eat that loosh. They absorb it. They inhabit it. They need that they feed off of our angst and our anxiety. When you're stressed out because you don't have enough time to sleep or to rest or to enjoy life, they absorb that energy. They feed themselves and we're drained of our energy. So as Sister Botanica said, time is the most valuable asset. Your time is everything. Your energy is everything. These beings in power, beings, you know how we call them beings? They get to be, we have to do. They make us produce for them. Even if it's just psychic energy that we're emitting from our body, we're producing something for them. And then we go out and we work for them. But we need to learn to be instead of do. Sometimes just sitting in the quiet is more valuable than anything else. Because when you just be, you can enjoy the sun and inhabit the sun. You can receive messages from your ancestors. You can receive messages from your highest self. You can just think through all type of dilemmas, solutions, all type of things. Sometimes it's just important to just be. Be. And do nothing. That's why in the scripture it says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that things will work out for themselves. When you know that things will work out for themselves, you don't have to be anxious. When you know that you are God yourself, you don't have to be anxious because you know that you can manifest whatever you desire. Just think about wherever you are right now today. For the most part, wherever we are, wherever I am right here today, is based on decisions I made in my past. It's based on the behaviors thoughts and decisions from the past. This is exactly why I'm here today. I'm reaping what I sowed. So if and since where however I am right now is based on the decisions and thoughts and behaviors of my past, just imagine if I just be and think about my future in a positive way, and then attach actions or behaviors to that, my future will be manifested and realized very, very quickly. You don't need money to do that. So our ancestors or the Galactic Federation, the galactic beings, our galactic family, have decided that for a period of time, they want us to have extreme wealth, massive wealth. They want us to know what that feels like, know what it feels like to have gold, silver, copper, palladium, platinum, all the land you need, all that. And even utilize digital assets to accumulate more things. But then you're going to move to another higher dimension where you don't have to accumulate anything. You won't even, you're going to be amazed how once we move past 5D, things are going to move and speed up even more quickly than they already are. Right now, you think about something, it happens right away because we've moved to 4D and some of us are into 5D. You think about it, it just happens just like that. Your body is changing, your thoughts are changing, the things you desire are changing, and the thoughts of what you desire is just happening very, very quickly. But we're going to move to an era where we won't even need to eat. Right now, we're eating, but we're eating less and we're eating different types of foods. When I reported the other day, somebody was saying that there are certain foods their body just won't take anymore because their body's becoming more crystalline. I'm saying it's because your body's become more crystalline. We're going to move to a crystalline body like many of our ancestors that have moved on, and many of those that are in the part of the galactic family. We're a part of the galactic family. We just don't know it yet. So we're going to be able to manifest just like they do. We're moving now where we were eating a lot of meats and vegetables, fruits and processed foods, et cetera, but our body is elevating our genetic codes. They're being activated and moving up to higher states of being, and they are being activated to a higher level. So now you may not need the type of foods you were needing before. Then you're going to move to a certain point where you won't even need to eat. You can absorb energy. You already have people that are breatharians. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for us to evolve to that level, but I've been told, I think I was told this a decade ago, that humans will get to the point where we were moved to a place where we can just manifest on a high level, just thinking it, and we can manifest, we will absorb energy and we'll need a lot less foods or no food at all. And that we will even be able to procreate without even being involved in a sexual act. That's what I heard from elders that studied this. Study metaphysics, study ascension and things like that. But for now, Elon Musk says that you won't need money within the next 10 years. He's saying there's going to be so much abundance, so much wealth, so much freedom and joy, and so much happiness and so much prosperity that you won't need money to trade for it. It'll just be there for you to enjoy. Of course, the beings of power will tell you they're doing it, but that's not it. You're going to get access to your trust, and this is the way you were intended to live anyway. You were supposed to live anyway in a reality of abundance. And the galactic beings that have now come back to help liberate humanity have determined that the enslaver must go. This is why everything happening on the physical level is happening on a so-called spiritual or metaphysical level. So at the lower level where you see humans being arrested, people being told to step down, forced to resign, take early retirement, that is a replica of what's happening in a so-called metaphysical or spiritual realm. So these people that are arrested, that were bankers, that were politicians, that were school leaders, that were coaches and administrators and presidents and prelates, all of those people, they're replicating what's happening in the so-called spiritual realm, where these nefarious beings like the archons and the reptilians and the draconians and whatever else, and even some of the beings that allegedly seeded humanity on the planet, the Anunnaki, the custodians, those beings are being ejected from our planet, and the portals are being closed. All portals, the airports, that's a portal. The water ports is a portal through the water. Land ports, those are portals. Those are literal portals. Not only transporting from one country to another, or from one city, one state to another, but also from one dimension to another. Those ports are being closed. So you have ICE at the airports, you have TSA at the airports, you also have galactic beings at the spiritual or metaphysical ports that allow beings to come in and out of realities and dimensions. Those are being closed. And so this is why we need to ascend at a high level, and we need to utilize our time and our energy to really determine who we are and why we came here, and utilize that power, that ancestral memory and ancestral power, to control ourselves and to control and properly steward our environment. Because as we ascend in consciousness, and as you ascend in wealth, and as you ascend in who you are as a so-called earth being, you're going to realize that you're greater than what you've all ever thought or always been told. You are parts of bloodlines that have returned to steward and manage the wealth of your ancestors from many, many generations, from many, many millennia. What we've been experiencing, family, has been all type of wars that preceded us, that came before us, I should say. So we are right in the middle of bloodline battles, bloodline wars, and we don't really realize that. Some of us don't. But now the wealth is being returned. The sovereignty is being returned. Your kingship, your queenship is being returned. There are people right now that are literally finding out their bloodline is attached to kings and queens from thousands of years ago. What are we going to do with that type of responsibility? That you were supposed to steward or manage thousands of acres of land. That's why we have to develop our character. That's why we need time. Somebody said that time is your greatest resource. You need that time to yourself so that you can study, focus, manifest, and do all the things you need to do to develop yourself as the God being that you are. And then teach it to your children and grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and your whole bloodline. And then you have to utilize those values and characteristics to conduct business across the street, across the neighborhood, across the community, across the pond even. We're moving to such a high state of being that all this 3D stuff won't matter. We need to turn off the 3D music. We need to turn off the 3D television. Now, I know sometimes you might need comedy to laugh, or you might need a little downtown, but I mean, on a large scale, if it's not developing you and making you a better person, turn it off, even if it's just for a time period. Because when you sit alone with yourself, you're going to realize that all this other stuff was just noise. Going to work for somebody else, noise. Stuff that's on the television, noise. Stuff that's on social media, for the most part, noise. Stuff that's on the radio waves, noise. Noise to distract us from who we really are. Noise to keep us from knowing who we are as individuals, as gods that have come to this plane to manifest on a high level. We only use a certain percentage of our brain. You got probably about 80% of the brain that's not even being used that we'll be able to tap into now that we don't have to go to work for somebody else. So I agree with Elon Musk. We won't need money, not their money in the next 10 years. What do you need money for anyway? Land? You sprung from the land. Water? The earth provides water. Food? The earth provides food. They've kept us from foraging all our lives when even the forests provide food that they told us was poison. But what we can do with whatever fiat you have, gold, silver, digital assets that you have, is buy land if you don't know where land comes from your family, but all that's going to be released. I said earlier, I was traveling down the road and I was looking at this beautiful, beautiful land all around me, but it was all fenced off as I was traveling down the road on the highway. And I said, this is so unfortunate how these people in power have kept all the land away from the people. And tears just flow from my eyes. I'm like, there's more than enough land. They said there's not enough. I'm looking at my eyes as far as I can see, and beyond there's land everywhere. And it's beautiful and luscious. And as the tears flow from my eyes, Spirit spoke to me and said, that land right now is being held because at a certain time, it's going to be released. And it's about to be released and go back to the people. This was last month in June. And I thought, oh my God, the land is being held by whomever, but it has to be released because their time is up. The beings in power were in power. They no longer exist. You now are the beings in power. We're the beings in power. This is why some of us have accumulated gold and silver, copper, and some people have accumulated land. This is also why some people have held some fiat dollars so that when the prices of everything come down, and they can go out and buy more things. But what's more important, family, is your time, your freedom, your sovereignty, and each other, human resources. Because there was a time when it didn't matter what the government was doing, people knew how to live and they knew how to thrive. They paid off their houses, or their houses were passed down to them. They managed their houses well. They managed their land well. They didn't do it by themselves. They did it with their family. We need each other to survive. So I would, in closing, encourage us to utilize whatever time that we have to sit in silence and be and hear the messages that come to us. With the television, the social media, the computer, everything turned off. Don't be, and see what type of messages you receive, because those messages that you receive will be the messages that will liberate you and your family members. I agree, AI is not new. Oh, Brother Botanica, please forgive me, Brother Botanica. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you. Thank you. Brother Botanica says that neck adornment is gorgeous, Doc. Thank you so much. I surround myself with beauty and gold, copper, silver. I even take it. I do need to buy more colloidal silver, monoatomic silver, and monatomic gold and copper, because when I take it, I feel healthier. I feel have more energy. I dream with more clarity. I feel lighter, and my vision becomes more clear. I just feel overall more healthy when I take colloidal and monoatomic gold, silver, and copper. So I need to get some more from the Meta Center Chicago and keep precious metals around me. They just make me feel so much more regal. Thank you for the jewels. Thank you so much, Brother Tony. It's good to see you. As the Beatles song says, all you need is love. I love that. The sun took out 2,000 in 2 weeks. I know, I heard about that. Wasn't that in Europe? Where the sun took over, she said 20,000 in 2 weeks? That's a lot. Wow. Wow. We are masters of the universe, young masters at their best, are creating. Love it, Sister Vicky said. Thank you. Good day. This is live. Oh, thank you. Neva Montfort said, my mom always said to be careful opening doors because you can step through or into somewhere else. Absolutely. No, I don't see Sister Janine. Sometimes she doesn't get notifications. Thank you. Brother Larry says accountability, self reflection, self discipline, healthy relationships with the Holy Spirit, divine assignment. The value of our existence could be worth trillions of dollars. Ooh, or it could be a tragic joke. I'm so grateful. Brother Britannica says, we are grateful for you, Dr. Kia, and we love you. I love you too. Thank you. Brother Marlon says, Dr. Kia, you are on point today. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I love this. Neva says, one day a week, we shut everything off, even unplug the Wi Fi. I notice my body doesn't vibrate as much when I unplug. Wow. Wow. Thank you. Sister Belinda says, Dr. Kia, your teachings are awesome. I've shared with so many and they're getting it. Thank you. I'm so happy to hear this. Sovereign wealth is here. Listen, family, for them to bring out Elon Musk to say everybody's going to have universal high income, where that's an allotment that comes from the government in order to offset the issue of people or in order to deal with the people losing their jobs. So you have to give them something. And in order to deal with the fact that AI is producing an abundance or surplus of goods, for them to bring on a so-called billionaire that people look to for some reason to give out information, even I wanted to hear what he had to say. That means that we're already there. When they tell us, oh, we have an idea of something we might do, they're already doing it. It's already in play. The stage has been set. So no, universal high income is coming. Know it. KNOW. Know that is happening, family. Know that debt cancellation is happening. It's occurring. July the 31st is today. We don't know what August the 1st might hold. August is the 8th month. 8 is the number of abundance and prosperity. So it's coming. RH needs copper. Ooh. Somebody said, make use of the empty farmlands. There's a lot of farmland that's about to be up for sale with all of the people being deported, family. It's our opportunity to gain back the land. Brother Tony says, I'm trying to figure out how to use the jewels. Maybe somebody can help me with that. I see it pop up on my screen when you come on, but I'm not sure how it works. Somebody know how the jewels work and the gifts? You can, share jewels with the host of the show. Will we ever get our bells back that we hang in the front door? I don't know. I wonder if we can make our own bells. That would be awesome. We are unplugging for 7 days. Let's see how it goes. Ooh, Sister Vicky, let us know how that goes. I love that. Bells definitely heal the body. That's why they took them away. Thank you, Neva Montfort. I agree. The bells used to heal us. And I remember they would ring them every third hour. And we would just pause wherever we were when we would hear the bell and just kind of absorb the energy of the frequency. You lack nothing. Use what I gave you, the universe. Ooh, thank you, Kurtz. You lack nothing. That's right. The earth is abundant. The planet always provides more than enough. But they tried to seed into our consciousness a scarcity mentality that there's not enough money or food or wealth to go around. Tuning forks works in place of bells. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, Sister Tammy, have a good afternoon. And thank you for the jewels, the gold coins. So, family, I just wanted to let you know that Elon Musk predicted that we won't need money in the next 10 years. He said money may not matter by 2036, and he said that during an interview with The Economist. His argument was that artificial intelligence and human robots, or humanoid robots, will create an extra abundance or an extreme abundance, an era of extreme abundance where goods and services become limitless, rendering trading trading on a high level, but also rendering traditional currency and savings obsolete. You won't have a need to save up money in order to gain access to goods. You won't need to use currency to get access to goods because the goods will be everywhere, all around you. And I would venture to say, there'll be no more crime or very little of it if everybody's wealthy. There's an abundance and a surplus of goods, and we'll all have access to it. Chief Mack always says it's not like the government's just going to give you those checks out of nowhere. Those checks are coming from your trust. That's your own money. Let alone, we won't even talk about the generational wealth that was passed down from our ancestors that most of us never got access to because the government stole it from us or kept it from us. However, that wealth will be returned. You watch my videos, my last two videos I did with Chief Rod Hayes, Chief Pontiac. He says all the time, all your wealth is going to be restored to you. They know where you are and who you are. It's going to be returned. Musk points out that people only want money to buy things like food, housing, transportation, and entertainment. But we're moving beyond this scarcity mentality or scarcity era. In terms of machine labor, Elon Musk says if AI and robots produce more of these things than human beings do, then possibly the rules of economics change because they're going to produce more than we can even use. There's a deflation risk, he says, because Elon Musk suggests the future economy faces deflation rather than inflation because output will grow much faster than the money supply, thus rendering money obsolete. This is pretty exciting. And I just want to add, in addition to that, we have been talking about Nassar and Jassara benefits like cancellation of debt and every person over the age 21 having massive amounts of money deposited into their new quantum accounts, which are non-interest bearing. I call that Nassar and Jassara. Elon Musk calls it universal high income, a proposed economic model where regular unconditional government checks are issued or distributed to every national of that country. Regularly unconditional government checks. The only way the government would issue out something unconditionally is if it belonged to you in the first place. I'm just saying. It will be issued out, they say, to every citizen, but they really should be saying to every national, because every other country that have issued out sovereign wealth funds or universal high income has two stipulations: that you're a national of that country and that you are present at the time of issuance. It'll be the same with America. President Trump modeled our sovereign wealth fund after other sovereign wealth funds. He said it when he came back in 2025. I'm creating a sovereign wealth fund comprised of real estate, precious metals, rare earth minerals, money from taxes and tariffs, and other commodities that will be used for humanity, humanitarian projects, to build the infrastructure, and for further and more investigations to bring in more money. He then said other nations have sovereign wealth funds, and these funds are for the people of that nation. So your sovereign wealth fund, your universal high income, your NASARA benefits will only be for the nationals. You have to be a national of that land. Your bloodline needs to come from there. And you have to be present when it's time to issue out those benefits. This is one of the reasons why immigration is such a big issue right now. Why President Trump is scrutinizing birthright citizenship, because he said this wasn't created for rich millionaire Chinese or other people from other countries to come here to have their babies so their babies can gain access to the wealth. And then the parents, by way of their children, gaining access to the wealth in America, getting benefits from the government. It was never created for that. The 14th Amendment, birthright citizenship, was never for foreign nationals. It was for the children of African American slaves. And that amendment was pushed forward after the Civil War, only for the children of African American slaves, so that now they could become citizens of the United States. But attorneys and judges have used the 14th Amendment to justify bringing in foreign nationals and allowing them to stay here, have their babies here on our lands, and then just by virtue of being born on these lands, their babies would get an American passport. They would either stay here and get benefits, and each of their family members would get benefits from the government. Or once they got that passport and they spend all the money from, because now the pregnancy was taken care of, the birth was taken care of, and they even have birth tourism where people from all over the country, all over the world, were actually recruited to come here. They were recruited to come here, live well on a visa, have the best medical care, go on all these excursions, get access to all type of benefits while they're here, give birth to their baby, and now their baby becomes a United States citizen. They get a passport, and they will either stay here and be educated here and then go through all the processes here and get all the benefits here, as well as everybody in their family, or they will go back abroad and be trained to be communists back in communist China or India or wherever. And then after they reach a certain age, like the voting age, they come over here at 18 with their United States passport as a citizen and vote. Thank you. Somebody said I always look radiant. KiaPruitt@gmail.com. Yeah, they will come over here and vote as a United States citizen. They can boost the voting numbers for whatever party that was in place. Then they get free housing, access to education, healthcare, all type of money for themselves and their family members, while the Americans struggle and deal with what they call it redlining, all these housing stipulations where the indigenous people couldn't even have access to their land. And they put banking policies where they couldn't even get access to loans. And the foreign nationals would then buy stores, and y'all already know the spiel. But all that's being reversed. So now that all these citizenship statuses are being scrutinized, people are coming to a growing awareness that they have to go back home to the land of their ancestors. But the good part of that, to me, all of that is good because you get to be with your family and your ancestors. I don't understand the discrepancy. However, some people will say, well, you were born in America. Yeah, I was, I am, and I'm very, very grateful, and I love my country. What's interesting is that everybody was allowed to come to my country and take what was left for the indigenous people. Take it, utilize it, enjoy it, do whatever they want. Build up their little homes and their gated communities, put gates and fences around and try to keep us away. But Everything's being reversed and people be able to go back home. And the good news is they'll gain access to their sovereign wealth fund and to their NASARA benefits or universal high income that comes out from their government and their trusts. But you have to be from those lands and you have to be present. I think people will be excited when it's finally announced, but this is soft disclosure. It's already being announced. They put Elon Musk in front of the camera, set him down in front of the place called, or the interviewers called The Economists, so they can teach the people economics, that the resources from the land is going to be transferred back to the descendants of the people who are the stewards of those lands, period. I think I can end on that. The resources of the lands are being redistributed back to the descendants of the people that were the original stewards of those lands. What a beautiful time to be alive. Family, I'm so grateful that you came. Thank you for taking out the time and just for being present. I appreciate you because you didn't have to be here, but you chose to be here, and I'm so grateful. Somebody say you're going in. Tell it. Other people were able to come here while we suffered. And you know what? I'm like, there are some people that can't even imagine what it's like to suffer. And I'm grateful they don't know the pain that a lot of people have felt. Because it's kind of weird being in the land of your ancestors that sprung from this soil and not having access to your own land. But the good news is all that's being reversed, and we'll all gain access to the land of our ancestors. We'll all gain access to the land and the resources. And I'm so excited. Thank you. I'm so happy Chicago said you inspired me to step up my game. I'm so happy for you all. The world needs Kia. Oh, Curtis, thank you so much. Creator bless you. I am so honored. Thank you. We're taking America back. KiaPruitt@gmail.com, Brother Tony. We're taking America back. We're taking our countries back. We're taking our lands back. We're taking our wealth back. I say, oh. Join me tomorrow. I might be back later on today, but on tomorrow, we're going to talk about whole life, medical, and other type of things that people use right now to become wealthy. So if you already have whole life, or term life, or insurance, there's a way you can use it to accumulate wealth and to pass down wealth to your inheritance or to your legacy, to your posterity. We're going to have this show for our membership group at 10 o'clock a.m. Saturday, early Saturday morning. And we may talk about some other things as well, but this is the show where I'm bringing on special guests. One is an economist and one is a financial advisor, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is a private group only show that I'm doing at 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday here on the Dr. Kia Pruitt Show. So hit that like button and join the private membership group, or you can just hit the button. I'm putting the link in the chat. Follow the prompts and you'll be in. We're going to talk about whole life, and we're going to answer some of your other questions about how to accumulate certain things that we consider wealth right now. We're going to have a financial advisor and an economist both in that private group, 10 o'clock a.m. I love you, family, and I thank you for joining me. This is Friday, so have a happy Friday. Yay! family. All right. I'll see you at 10 o'clock in the morning. Have a wonderful weekend. And if I don't see you at 10 a.m., I may decide to come back later on this evening. I love you all. Are all hearts and minds clear? Remember, oh, I love you back. I love you more. Remember, we're living through a time period they're calling the greatest wealth transference in history. What's happening is the resources and the wealth is being redistributed back to its original owners. So the beings in power that had taken the wealth, the land, the gold, the silver, all of that, even that held our bodies captive in their prisons, all of those beings are now being taken off planet. We hear about the military tribunals. We don't hear about the war that's happening above us, underground, through these underground tunnels, the going and through interdimensional wars. We don't hear about that as often. That's happening right now. It's a bloodline war. We are literally related to beings that seeded us here on the planet. That's why pastors, I reported on this, were told in secret meetings that they need to tell their congregations about the extraterrestrials that exist. Because people in church are going to have a rude awakening when they find out that the God of the Bible is none other than Enlil, Yahweh, Elohim, and his bloodline, the elites, the Elohim that came from the being that came to this dimension to enslave humanity. That's why he loves blood. That's why he loves sacrifices. Pastors were literally told, you need to start telling people the truth about the God of the Bible and the Bible, because they're going to have a rude awakening when massive disclosure becomes a part of their reality. This is the Great Awakening, family. This is more than about money. This is about waking up to you being God and you being the creator of your reality and the manager of the wealth that your ancestors left for you to steward. I love you, family. It's a beautiful new world. See you on the other side, family. Are all hearts and minds clear? All right. Take care, Soul Tribe. I love you. Make sure you have a great day. Eat well, rest well. And I want you to promise me you'll spend some time being instead of doing. You don't always have to exert energy. Sometimes just sitting in the stillness and the quiet of the day or night is what your body, your mind, and your soul truly needs. Peace be upon you, family. You've entered a new golden reality. Enjoy it. Get ready for it because it's coming. And it'll come faster than a moment of a twinkling of an eye. I see you on the other side. I love you. Peace, family.